Well, welcome everybody to the Profoundly group chat. This week, we've got an awesome guest, an industry leader here. Matt Bolian is here to talk with us. Super excited. Matt's one of the most thoughtful voices in the ecosystem, and we're really, I think, it's quite an opportunity to connect with you, Matt. And we're eager to hear your journey and your thoughts and sort of what's top of mind for you today. On the line, you've got, folks from the Profoundly community who are all in on HubSpot, HubSpot practitioners and pros, professionals, really committed to helping millions grow better on HubSpot and the universe of connected apps and integration. So thank you so much for being here, Matt.
It is it's an absolute honor.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, just to kick things off, I think a lot of folks that are here today and listening to the recordings after the fact, like they know about you, but I'm not sure that everybody knows about your journey and sort of how you got here. Do you mind talking through a little bit about your path to what brought you to the HubSpot ecosystem?
Yeah, I'll try to do this. I'll try to do it halfway quick. I don't know how quick or not. I'll say is I had a halfway, we'll call it unconventional, way to get in HubSpot. Um, there's a point in my life where I didn't think HubSpot was worth investing in. I'll say that. So you call me a Paul or a Saul to Paul conversion. If you take someone that was out there convicting HubSpot users as not being legit, and then one day becoming all in on being orange. So I'll talk to you that journey.
Yeah.
I was in the military for about 6.5 years. I did not use HubSpot. We did not have CRMs. We did have a lot of data sources. So I spent a lot of time looking at trends and doing a lot of data analysis and getting that. When I
Yeah.
got out, I did a transition. It's called called Tech Qual, and it was a sales transition. And I ended up interviewing for a company in Mississippi. My dad was ill and just wanted to go back home, and I'm from Mississippi. He
Yeah.
and they I was not going to take that job. But the president of that company said, "Hey Matt, do you want to take this job?" And I said, "No, but thank you for flying me out. When my dad's ill, it was really helpful. Like, thank you for investing in my family."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, what would make you stay? What would make you be here?" I was like, "Well, in the military, I'd done chief of staff roles, did analyst role. I was like, hey, I would love to be your chief of staff."
Yeah.
Like, okay. And he was in the Australian Navy. So he knew what a chief of staff was in that capacity. He's like, okay, what do you want to make? I just, made a number up.
Yeah.
I should have made it larger. But just made a number up. And 2 hours later, he had a job. And so 2 hours later, he gave me a chief of staff role. Now, what that
Yeah.
looked like was I didn't know these terms, but lead to cash. So I was in control of mergers. No reason, by the way. There's absolutely no reason for this to be true. Uh, but we were doing mergers and acquisitions in the IT managed space. So we'd take like Cisco and these companies that are selling in the Southeast. We would buy them and I would merge them. And they had HubSpot and they had ConnectWise and they had Sugar and they had Zoho. And so I started
Yeah.
to get these names and we had Salesforce and I was like a prophet of sales, like get in Salesforce. You're going to be, everything's going to be better.
Yeah.
I'd go and we would take their systems to lead to cash and get them into our Salesforce and NetSuite environment. And
Awesome.
that's how I learned about CRMs, ERPs.
Nice.
Um, fast forward, I did that for about 2, 3 years. He went to another company. He asked me to come with him as director of business operations. RevOps didn't exist at that point.
Yeah.
And we had Microsoft Dynamics. And I actually liked Microsoft Dynamics better than I liked Salesforce. Um, so I sat in that environment. We sat there. He left to go to another company, and when he left, it was a PE-owned firm. When he left, this is going somewhere, guys. I promise. This is how I got in HubSpot.
This
Okay,
is
so
great.
here it is.
So far,
Uh,
you've moved people into Salesforce and then Dynamics. Like
yeah,
this is
yeah. It's just
incredible.
yeah. And I just got hit over the head with essentially every CRM you can think of, and I ran a
Yeah.
Salesforce shop. I ran a Microsoft Dynamics shops, ERP wise, everything was Dynamics, everything was Teams, everything was Office
Yeah.
365. Then he left. And when he left, this is my first environment in the civilian world or private sector where you can just be a number and a head count. And it was around COVID. Everybody, when he left, got fired that he brought in. So it was a PE firm. They brought in about 55 plus people. All 54 of them were fired the week after he left.
Wow. Wow.
I was the only person who was not fired. And I sat in that moment. I was like, there's nothing special about me, but there is something special about what I do. And
Mm.
what I found after that is sales teams would say, Matt, we don't know how we would run sales meetings without you. We don't know how to work in the CRM. Everything, every time you ask a question, you just fix it.
Yeah.
And so it made me think. I met Brendan Tollison, and
Yep.
he had just got he was a CRO of a company. We had met at a wedding, and he had just gotten laid off because of COVID, despite doing well. You know,
Yeah.
just and we. And I was like, man, Brendan, there is. I tried to get a job in Salesforce, and they told me I didn't have enough experience as a Salesforce, so I couldn't get a job. I couldn't
Mm.
use this because I didn't have 18 certifications from Salesforce.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, we could do routes as a service. So we standardized on active campaign because I thought it would be the easy. It was the cheapest and the easiest. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
And we had one client that had HubSpot. I was actively giving them off, reselling active campaign. And I went to Brendan afterwards and said, hey, HubSpot is the easiest to use. Like I can get adoption faster on this tool than anything else. And he's like, okay, because he didn't, he's like, okay. I was like, we should, like, I really think like there is an arbitrage opportunity. I know there's an arbitrage opportunity because I've been proselytized, I've been brainwashed that HubSpot is not for salespeople, can't work. And I'm telling you right now, this works. There's an arbitrage opportunity. We should start a company.
Yeah.
That's the moment where we went all in. It was that was December 2020. We signed a contract and with HubSpot, and the rest is history.
That's incredible.
That's the story. So that's
What was it? I have to ask, like, so you've got all this background, all this experience on all these different CRMs. You've seen it all at this point, right? Early 2020, pre-COVID. You see HubSpot, and it's like, what was there one thing that was like, just this? Was there an aha moment?
Yeah. There's I think there's a principle in life that people don't remember what you say, but they remember how they make you feel.
Yeah.
And Salesforce made me feel a certain way when I used it, and Dynamics makes me feel a certain way. And there's something about strategy and like building well. And this like crafted, not coddled. I mean, yeah, like that story was felt like you're in it. And there was always, every single time, there was one less click. And it was built a point of view on what is most efficient, what's most effective was built in. Was it more customizable? No. Did it? But I didn't have to customize to make it work. It just worked, so I could
Yeah.
focus on what mattered. So I believe strongly in standardized customer. So you asked me, is there's the one thing? It is everything was just a less click. Everything was intuitive,
Yeah.
and I felt a certain way because of how
Yeah.
it was built.
I love that. I love
It's
that so
Apple
much.
versus Android, right? Like it's just like
Yeah.
um, I'm all in.
That's cool. That's so cool. So you're all this experience, all this exposure to different CRMs and how it works and HubSpot, it just clicked, it just worked. Um, you're also a big advocate for the ecosystem around HubSpot. Like, can you tell us a little bit about what was it about the ecosystem that sort of lit you up? What's different about the HubSpot ecosystem than like other ecosystems you've seen?
Yeah. Um, so there's a reality of once I had this there's a reality of where it was yesteryear and where it is now.
Yeah,
And when we were starting is one of the things that I think profoundly is like making a step in this is like we're professionalizing what it means to be a HubSpot admin and to be a professional. When we started, that was not true.
right.
So one of the differences that I think there's been like where this is like we're in the time. It's the best time to be a HubSpot admin because it's a burgeoning profession and the people that are doing now are establishing what will be, right? And
Yeah,
that's a fun place to be. We're building.
yeah,
Um, is in Salesforce, right? They have something called VetForce, and I was able to teach myself and they have a motion going out to veterans to help them transition into different roles.
Yeah.
And like that's an example. HubSpot doesn't have that. Still doesn't have that. Not at all, right? There is no
Mm.
veteran community that helps people get out of the military transition to become a HubSpot admin. Maybe Profoundly will do something about it, right? Like, there
Well,
is
yeah,
no,
we're gonna put that on the to-do list
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was
tomorrow.
like, uh, but what is it is despite like not having that, I felt very welcomed.
Yeah.
And there's something about the energy and that was I like this. HubSpot was the underdog, and I like just like punching up. And the fact nobody else recognized how awesome HubSpot was really bothered me. And so the
Yeah.
ecosystem is, I saw a bunch of really awesome people, and I literally came from another place where nobody knew how awesome it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that bothered me a lot. Still bothers
Yeah. That's cool. I do remember like we got started in the HubSpot ecosystem around the same time, and I think immediately it was clear like when I was talking to the community earlier, I called you a maverick in the best possible way, right? Like you came into the ecosystem and you were like, I don't really care how it's currently done. Like we're gonna do it different and better. And you did it. Like you move fast and I don't want to say broke things, but you like broke the mold on like how things could and should be done, which was really cool. It was fun to observe you and Brendan and the team, go hard at that. And I think to your point, like there was the ecosystem that existed pre-COVID, and there's the ecosystem that exists today, much to your credit. That must feel good to look back and sort of see the transformation that you've helped drive.
Yeah, I think yes, that is fun. I am most, and I still think this, I'm most excited about there's we all have to make bets in life, right? We have to make bets. And bets mean you could be wrong. It means there's risk. And the HubSpot profession, I don't think is getting to where it's no longer a bet. It's no longer a risk. It's just a good investment. So
Mhm.
let me tell you the first thing. So this is the level of like oomph. I literally had the guy I was working for, the chief of, when I was chief of staff, the president of the company. He told me this verbatim, day one. He says, Matt, if I was you, the what I would do, like I would have your children learn Salesforce. That's the best investment you can make. And I was like, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
let me become a Salesforce. There is, I want that same level of profession and passion in HubSpot. And I think it's coming. And it's just a matter of time. And so like, I think it's the best time to be in the ecosystem right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. A lot's happening. And it has been happening for, to your point for many years. I think it is like accelerating at an accelerating rate, which is cool.
Mhm.
Um, w w on that topic, like I believe the concept of the HubSpot professional, obviously people were working in HubSpot for many years, right, before you or I came along.
Mhm.
But I do think that the concept of the HubSpot professional and like sure the practice might be there, but the concept was something that you really helped drive, I think. Like can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, where did that idea come from? Like, and
Mm.
yeah,
I mean, it's multivariate, it's multifaceted, right? Is there's one aspect of is I'm running a consulting firm where part of what you have to do is recreate people, right?
yeah,
So there's a reality of I must teach people how to do this thing.
yeah,
So there's a reality of that's like where a bit of it came from. But like as I was, is I just really, 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 really love this thing is in the military is I love unlocking latent potential in people and they can see what's possible. And one thing I still believe this is true. It's more, and I put something out a bit ago. We had talked about it in the profoundly kickoff that was very very popular at one point. It's called the 5 stages of the HubSpot admin. I think it's the profession, and it is. um, the reality of today, and this is a good thing, is there's a rev ops competency on understanding how data structure works and data, like how it all works. And you can start visualizing things in your head and you can build out databases. And everybody should be able to be able to build out, if you want to be a good rev ops person, be able to build out some type of, and be able to see databases and build them in your head. So you
Hmm.
can visualize and be able to talk in the moment about building things, joint it, whatever it is. There's a competency that comes with it. But there's a new question, which is, what is my weapon of choice? And I tell you this, this is like made me, this is probably why I was like, okay, there has to be a rise of the HubSpot professional is there's RevOps competency that can exist outside of a tool. But you have ninjas that throw, that have guitars, and you have ninjas that have like there's different the mutant ninja turtles had different weapons and they have to be good at different weapons. They're different skill sets. And you all have basic training. So you how you step. Reality is now is you can either be good, especially with the amount of customers, you can either be good at HubSpot or you can be good at Salesforce. You can't be good at both. And one of the things that bother me the most is people who said they were agnostic and didn't make a choice because that's never true.
Mm.
Everybody has a preference, and so
Yeah.
I value a lot of honesty and integrity. So it's just when I was in Salesforce, um, so the profession is my like own who you are
Yeah.
and don't be ashamed of it. Get really freaking good at it.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult to own that in that time and space because there wasn't this concept of the profession, the stages, understanding like there was no certification programs, right? There was no way to like how do I professionalize this and how do I identify as this thing?
Yeah.
Um, and so that's just a that that has to actually happen for the ecosystem to go. So as I'm seeing this by the ecosystem, and I'm seeing there's a service company, I have to recreate people, and I'm like, okay, what's the greatest issue? What is the thing that will how what will cause us to fail? Not as a HubSpot, but like as an ecosystem, is if we do not professionalize the HubSpot admin. And we were selling HubSpot. This is what HubSpot was selling against the admin guys. I mean, they were literally saying they got angry at me. I mean, I've so angry that I've had like it's like monetarily affected me, right? Where they'll say, they'll say, uh, Matt, we will not change because that's our value prop. And I said, well, received. Well, you're not going up market because you can't sell against the people that are going to take you up market because every one of those 500 plus 2,000 people companies needs an admin to run this thing. Um, they've changed that, but like that's what we're sitting there. Why was it so important to me? Because literally they were telling me that I was
Yeah.
creating people in my organizations that had no future. All they could do was work at another partner. That's not what we wanted. That's not what I wanted.
Right.
So it became very passionate. It's almost like we have to create a profession, um, and the value will follow, and like everything
Yeah.
else will follow.
Yeah. And you've done that. I think the audience here, profoundly Sprocketeer, like I think that's evidence of success at doing that. We've got folks on the line, HubSpot professionals, that are all in on HubSpot. You've worked with tons of HubSpot pros over, your time. Like, curious to get your take. What are the best ones do consistently well in your mind? Like, what separates them? What differentiates them?
Yeah, I think so. I use the word admin positively. I think as a point, if you go into some circles and places, like if I'm in the RevOps co-op, for example, or in some of these other places that are RevOps professionals, they'll use the word saying, "Hey, don't become an admin. That means you're just doing what people ask."
Mm,
And I can see we're just defining the words differently.
yeah.
To me, the RevOps, the HubSpot admin, and the profession and what makes really good at it is they can then I'm put and this is all in the stages is um it cannot be just technical aptitude.
Hmm.
Is that does not make a HubSpot admin. A HubSpot admin knows not just how to build. In fact, I actually will say this. It is less important knowing how to build and more important knowing what to build
Mm.
and when to build it. What people pay money for, the most money for, isn't building the thing. It's
Yep.
building at the right time for the right reason. And it's not even what you built, it is then getting people to use the thing that's built. So I spent a lot of time here. So what do I find the best? It's like, hey, I built out this whole framework called operating principles, and like, hey, do you send recaps after? And this sounds odd, but like very specific behaviors. Like, do
Yeah.
you say I intend to do? Don't ask questions. I intend to do X. Do you have any questions or concerns? Ask
Yep.
binary yes no questions. They can send recaps afterwards. They know how to take notes and create steps. They drive
Yeah.
and they get feedback so they can then fix what's being built in real time.
Yeah.
And the best admins, right? When you do that, and I now knowing this, like having run RP, building up, so who do I want around me? It's
Yeah.
people that I can give something to, and I know it's going to get done.
Yeah.
So I said, so being a HubSpot admin is knowing, being good at HubSpot, but knowing what to build and when to build it is more important. And the only way you know how to do that is repeat failure over time, not asking permission, just doing,
Hmm.
and having some failures under your belt.
Yep. Yep. That makes sense.
So that's I say one thing. That's why when I say the stages of the 5 stages, one of them is getting a PMP certification. Like it's that level of you just
Hmm.
need to know how to drive,
Hmm.
and see at an executive level what's important. You can't just ask from the IC level. You must be able to see across departments.
Yep. Yep. So taking a step back and not just sort of doing what, answering the question that was asked, but answering the questions that should have been asked, taking a broader perspective and
Writing
guide.
requirement documents and
Yes.
like
Yes.
understanding the whys behind the whats, all that.
I love that. And for anyone that doesn't know, Matt is a prolific, uh, uh, you document and follow up prolifically. Like I remember your emails on like, here's exactly what we talked about. Here's exactly what we committed to.
Yeah.
So
With
you walk the
yeah, I would
walk on
say
that.
I'm uh, very passionate about certain things. One of those is, and I like, oh Matt, don't call recorders do that? Yes, and not sufficient. All right, like yes and not sufficient. And I'll have a whole. I'm going to stop there. But if anyone wants to talk to me afterwards, I have a very specific framework on how to recap like a boss. I'll feel free to share it. I have like, here's how you recap. Here's how you think about these things. How you push them out.
Yeah.
And call recorders help, but period, they will not be sufficient for you to drive change.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side, so that's what the best do. What do you notice about the common traps or mistakes that HubSpot professionals or aspiring professionals kind of exhibit? Do you any trends or patterns that you see?
It will be the opposite in many ways, what I just said. I'm pulling up something so I can write off this. These are our operating principles at Super that I think about. Um, so I'll say number one is I call everyone is in a path of becoming. So when I think worst or best, I'm really thinking stages, but
Hmm.
and there is no there is just a becoming and where you at in that stage.
Yep.
So someone that is an amateur, in my opinion, not to use the word amateur versus professional, it's because we're becoming professionals,
Yep.
is someone that's an amateur will put a process in before understanding why the previous process existed.
Mm.
They're going to create a process where a manual should be done. So I see this over and over again is people say they see an opportunity to automate and they don't keep it and they automate. The best keep it manual until it hurts.
Mm. Mm.
The best, and you read Hoffman if y'all have heard it, he has like the whole a podcast on scaling, and he'll say it over and over again. He'll say, "You like do things that don't scale." The best know what things to not scale, and that might be like the CEO sending a manual email to their customers. I
Yep.
do that. Um, I'm not saying I'm the best, but I like things you don't scale. Do things
Yep.
till they're painful. You got to. So that'd be one. Two is they don't ask yes no questions.
Mm.
Now, what do I mean by that? because we're taught to ask open-ended questions. Hey, what do you think about this? Like
Yeah.
an admin is, they'll say, hey, I really need this workflow fixed. I'm like, received. Um, what made you ask that question? Why do you need it fixed? Is it because this is what the best do? And I was like, well, instead of the best, then it's
Yep.
like, is it because? And they give them, is it because this or because of that? Binary
Mm.
choices, yes, no.
Yep.
And then they, okay, well, received. Then is it this or that? Yes, no, then open-ended. So
Got it.
the amateurs will often say, oh, received, why do you want to do that? And they'll think they did it well by asking one why.
Yep.
That is not sufficient. They don't close loops. Again, this is you can build something, but nobody knows you built it, and they don't know why you
Mm.
built it. They don't know how you built it. They don't. If someone asks for something, you say, "Hey, I just finished this thing. It is now done. Here's my Loom video of how it is done, and I have something scheduled on your meeting next week to review it with you to see if there's something issue. If you have a problem, DM me here." So there's a difference between the amateurs do it, and they're like, "Oh, I did that yet last week. You didn't know?" And
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
hear those things.
Yep.
And then last is amateurs will ask permission. And that sounds odd. Is one thing admins and like an admin, they do what they think's best,
Mm.
and they trust that, and they'll do some. Hey, I saw. Yeah, I've done this before. You can make a lot of friends because you got to make sales reps love you. You're like, hey, I noticed that you sent 18 manual emails yesterday. So what I did is I went ahead and made you a sequence, and it has this and this. Here's a little video how it works. Um, I'd love to test it out for you. I'll put some time. I'd love to test it out for you. I think it'd be really helpful for you. And you do things that people don't request because you just see no
Yeah.
permission.
Yeah.
Execute.
Love that. Love
Okay,
that.
that's it. These are things I know I went the opposite, like amateurs versus good, because I need to get them very specific. Like these are very specific actions.
No, this is great. This is great. I have lots of follow-on questions, but in the spirit of time and making sure
Okay.
that we leave time for the audience to ask their questions, like I would like to spend a minute on Supered, uh, if you're up for it. Like for those that aren't familiar with it, do you mind sharing a little bit about what it is and the problem that it's solving?
Yeah, super helps people learn software. So the best use case, or one of the most common use cases, is you have a methodology that you need to enforce or have compliance. You're able to get people to follow and comply with that methodology so you can actually affect change. It operationalizes uh, tactics. Great example would be I use the Sandler sales method. Okay, well, that's great. Well, then how do you put that and teach people what to do next, why it exists?
Yeah.
Um, and so that can be applied to sales, but it also could even be applied to um, onboardings. I have an onboarding process I want people to comply with and follow. And so
Yeah.
I think the misdemeanor of, or the misunderstanding of Super is it's only HubSpot. It's about creating processes on top of your systems and making sure they're followed. And we happen to be really freaking good in HubSpot, but we work anywhere.
That's awesome. And why did you like, was there a moment where you said, there's just like you're all in on HubSpot when you fast forward to launching Super, was there a moment when you were like, I have to solve this? I see an opportunity to solve this.
Yeah, I see Trent Little here, and we used to work directly with each other for a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, so he may remember some of this is there was a when Brent and I started Rev Partners, there's always an intent to create a software company. And we thought it would be a lot like a Happily, right? Or like you would have a app company that was making utility apps on HubSpot.
Yeah.
And I think the question would be, why didn't we do that? I think the question. And the reason we didn't do that was uh, because of our experience as a service company. And our experience as a service company is doing two things: recreating people and then getting people to do the things we created. So,
Hmm.
training and enablement, and then creating people. And um, I spent a lot of time thinking about how to do that. I mean, these 5 stages were part of that. I have a whole how to hire RevOps, like how to hire RevOps Jedis. I created a whole training on that. We created
Yeah.
all these playbooks, all in the effect of recreating quality and recreating outcomes, and it never worked. The word work there is strong. It's not a barren yes, no. Not that it didn't work. I mean, what we were doing perhaps worked better than others. So we were able to grow really fast. It just was never like, I never felt like, "Oof, that's beautiful." So we standardized on ClickUp and we had looms and we had Miros and we identified like 50 to 100 different playbooks that we had that we could literally do and modularly execute so we could get quality in the back end. We standardized so we could customize.
Yeah.
And it just never quite worked the way I wanted to. And I was like,
Mm.
man, there was a, I wish I wish I could duplicate some people.
Yeah.
And I wish that I could show someone exactly what to click and when to click it. I wish I could answer their questions in the moment of working. I wish they actually came and looked at the project plan so they knew what to do next.
Yeah.
There's all these I wishes. And Supered is my response in many ways to how hard running a service company is.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, what was it? It was just like when we sat back and said, okay, what problems do we want to solve? Um, when I started looking at these problems, like, okay, this platform of almost, you could call it a digital adoption, um, delivery and enablement. That's where the problem sets were. And that's what we started to. It's a big mission to build
Yeah.
all of that into one platform. No one was thinking like that. And still, no
Yeah.
one is thinking like this. One platform where I can do all of my enablement in one location where people are when they have the point of pain. It's still very exciting.
Yeah. It seems like, I mean, so one of the things we hear, not surprisingly, from HubSpot professionals in the community is like, I'm juggling a lot, right? They're doing it all themselves. I mean, they're uh, armies of one in many cases, and they're, I think, looking for ways to scale. It feels like Super is a great way to scale.
Yes. Simple, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's part of it is how do I duplicate and decrease answers? I mean, how do I enable end users? So I'm going to go back is one of the things I think matter a whole lot is the experience you give people, especially sales reps. I'm just thinking of the base level sales rep is what matters most. You ask me why do I standardize on HubSpot? Because it gives a better experience. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
But 50% of CRMs still fail. I think HubSpot's probably like 40%, meaning less fail than others. There's still 40% of these CRM implementations fail.
Yeah.
And it's because like that's what I'm like, it's the last mile delivery. AI will never take it, right? It is how do I deliver more? How do I do less? I mean, how do I do less but actually do more? That question. Supered was my answer to that. Um, Period. It's not really hard. It's one of these things you almost have to show, which we're not
Yeah.
showing right now. But that's
Yeah.
my answer. It's like if I could do it all again, I would want to start over with a tool like this. And I think I could have just more margin in life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And have uh, yeah, and then uh, be able to actually afford salary raises, right? Running a service company is hard. It's a low margin, and it's really difficult, and you have to get to a certain size, and it is difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Well, listen, again, I could go on and on, but I want to open it up for the audience. I'm sure folks have questions for you and would love your thoughts on things. So we'll pause there. For anybody that joined the call that has a question, feel free to come on camera, unmute, and ask Matt directly. Hey, Trent.
Hey, how's it going? Good seeing you, Matt.
Good seeing you, Trent.
Yeah, so the question that I have just to get the question started is during, I remember very vividly during my time working with you and over at Rev Partners, like first getting into HubSpot and everything. And as Rev Partners was in that rapid growth period, I think when I started, I was like employee like number 20 or something like that. And then by the time I left, it was like not even 2 years later, it was already up to like 75 people in the company. One of the main mottos that I remember like you speaking on pretty frequently and just throughout the company is move fast, break things. Now, do you still have that standpoint of belief of like move fast, break things? And if so, like how do you avoid the pitfalls of going back and actually fixing the things that get broken, or like addressing the things that get broken along the way?
Great question, Trent. Uh, that motto, I think Brian might know it. That came from Facebook when they first started. Move fast, break things. They then changed it. Move fast and break things, but don't destroy the underlying infrastructure. Is what they changed to. Um, I think you're right. Move fast and break things only exist, and the ability to do that only exists in certain cultures. And so that one statement without other behaviors is very difficult to do. Like if you move fast and break things inside of, I have moved fast and I have broke things and I have been fired. So I'll say it out loud. Um, I have moved fast, I have broke things, and I've been fired. Um, so I'm going to answer it two ways. Way number one is if you do that and you just as an independent human say, I'm going to move fast and break things and I'm going to accumulate as many failures as possible and thus learn fast, you inherently will have more risk in your employment where you are. Period. You will likely agglomerate a lot of experience and be able to move even faster when you do go somewhere. So I'll just say it out loud, like, is it the best career advice? It depends on who you ask. I do it because I believe in that so much that if someone told me to move slow, I would probably say, I'm going to move fast unless you fire me. Right. So you just got to be willing to say that. I am willing to say that. But, but I also understand that's not something that everyone can say or is in a position to say, right? There's realities to life. Number two, does Supert have that as a philosophy? You better bet. So like, let me give you examples of cultures that have that. If I'm in an all hands and I'm doing an all hands and I'm doing something, is the only way move fast and break things matter, like will work, is if everybody is vulnerable and will accept that they did something wrong in the first place. And so we have an operating principle called uh, you'll seek reconciliation, not damnation. And you're fired at Supert. You're fired at Supert if you say something bad behind someone's back and you don't first. I mean, not you get one attempt, but if you say something negative to someone else, I'm like, man, Trent, that guy, he talks too much. That's a, case. I'm like, and if you came to me and say you worked for Brian and you're like, hey, that guy, Brian, he talks too much. I would say, Trent, I hear that you received, I hear you hear that. Have you told Brian you think that yet? And you'd be like, no, I haven't talked to Brian about it. Like, okay. By the end of the week, you'll have talked to Brian about that, right? And you're like, no, I'm not going to talk to Brian about that. I'd be like, okay, you're going to, so that would be a firing offense at Super, right? If you're not willing to seek reconciliation. So you have to be in this like intense level of trust. We do use 5 dysfunctions of a team. If you all heard that, you must be vulnerable. And if you're vulnerable, you can then have unfiltered conflict. And so Super's a place where we talk really direct and have conflict. We had this all hands and I said, we're going to do something. And like the lowest person in the org, raised their hand and said, I think that's a really bad idea for this reasons. Why are we doing that? At the all hands, at the end, we did around the horn. Which around the horn means you ask every single person. We have all these like operating principles. And I was like, that's a good point. I don't think we need to do that anymore. Let's like sit back and you're able to influence. So move fast, break things works really good in a place where you don't have to ask permission. And someone says, let me give you one more example, Trent. I don't want to ramble anymore. Just one more example. You've been there, you've experienced this. So I'm saying it is someone came and Trent, this is literally me and Trent's conversation. They'd be like, Matt, I really do you think I should do this? I will say, I don't know, Trent. Do you think you should do that? And Trent would say, yes. I said, received. Why haven't you done it yet, Trent?
That was like the first 2 months of me working
Yeah, I'm
there.
not joking. Like this is literally what happened. Like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, because I wanted to ask you. I was like, well, do you think it's the right thing to do? Yes. Then that's an unkind thing not to do, Trent. You're being very unkind by not doing it. And so it's in that world you can move fast and break things. And if Trent made a mistake, which you did, I think you're like we like broke something. Um, I would say, good job, Trent. Thank you. Now, uh, let's fix it. And you can, if you live in that environment, you can move fast and break things. And I think it is the secret to being able to scale as fast as both RP has and Super has. I think it's a secret. Um, I will share, I'll give it afterwards, Brian, for everybody, our operating principles. So you can like see them live. I'll have a document. I'll put it in the chat right now.
Awesome. That sounds great. Thanks, Matt. You think I talk too much, Trent?
From the I think
Just
two
kidding.
times that I've gotten to speak with you. No, not at all.
All good. Cool. Thanks, Trent.
Thanks,
All
man.
right. Any other questions or things that are top of mind from the audience?
I've
All
got
right.
a question along those lines.
All right.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
How's that?
Good to see you. Hey, question. So if I'm an independent consultant and I'm trying to move fast and break things, but I break something on a client site, that's kind of I've actually done that a few times, and I've gone back and fixed it, but yeah, how do you handle that as an independent consultant where, it's not, you're not creating the culture,
Mm-hmm.
but you
Spicy.
got part of it.
I mean, I hold this as the standard, which is as part of if you are in a place where you move fast and break things, you also assume 100% responsibility. So this is like operating as, even if it's not my fault, I'm 100% responsible for it. So as an independent consultant, hey, I moved fast, I broke it. Uh, and by the way, I've already fixed it, and I'm just telling you I broke it just because I broke it. And that's probably what you're talking about. That actually generates a lot of trust because you're being vulnerable. And it's in the moments of, it's not when things are done well, trust is gained often. It's when in the moments of crisis or things happen that trust is gained. So the faster you own things, the faster you fix them, the more left and right limits you have to move fast and break things. So it doesn't mean you probably knew that. I'm just yes. Just move fast, break things, ask for forgiveness, and break and try not to break it again.
Right. Fix it and own up to it, fix it and
Yeah.
move on.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
But if you
Okay.
break it and you don't own it and you get in a fight with the customer and like
Oh.
those are yes, those or they yeah.
Yeah. And two, I had to come on, so, because I don't have a red beard. So
Yeah, that's true.
Nice. Looks like Fly, did you have a question?
Yeah, actually. So, couple of things with the move fast and break things. Huge fan of that, but it's always my philosophy of don't break it if you can't fix it. And then take ownership for it. And then with the failing, like I think the best advice I ever got, snowboarding instructor. If you stop falling, you stop failing, you're not trying hard enough. You need to try harder. But with documentation, huge fan of documentation. It's kind of my ball game. When you get a client that doesn't want to know, like they just want it fixed, they just want it there, they just want it to work, knowing that at some point you're going to leave, someone else is going to come in, what have you found to be the best way to leave that documentation there? The previous job I was at, I had an entire wiki built out for our systems, but like onesie twosies type jobs with consulting, like is there a process you recommend for that, especially if the client's like, just make it work?
Yeah, I have three thoughts. Number one is one book that I read that was very influential on how I deal with clients, and it was a sales book, but period. It's probably the best book for customer interactions I've had. It's called Challenger Sales. So if a customer tells me I don't want documentation, I will just straight tell them that's a really dumb idea. You will have documentation, and it's a part of why you need me, and I'm going to do it. And so I would tell them that. I understand you might not want it, and that's okay. You're going to get it anyway. So that's number one, which it sounds like you probably do. Number two is I mean, I've done so many different ways of documenting things, whether that's Google. Before Super, I was using Google Documents. We moved into ClickUp Documents. That doesn't work because clients never go into that. So you have to have something they can use and have forever. So whatever you're picking, I think that the principles are they can have access to it and use it forever. So those are Notion, Coda, Google
Yep.
Docs, um, or Super. So that's number two. Number three is, and this is part of the idea of, and I'm not selling Super here, but it's part of the idea of Super is documentation. The reason someone doesn't like documentation is because it's documentation. It's boring. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't do the thing I need it to do. It doesn't show me what to do. And I agree with that statement. So one thing in Super is like, okay, here's documentation. It'll show you exactly where to click on the page. You have you have your Loom videos, and you have dynamic, like if you're using, you have documentation in ways that is not documentation. You can search it. I embedded it on your page so your reps can see it and you can see it. It has all these different, like documentation must be useful. And so I think it's important to understand why don't you like documentation? Why haven't you found it useful? Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's awesome. Yeah. The last one, we had like a whole Atlassian Confluence setup with everything linked in there. But there's a lot of the times, especially with like higher levels, they don't want to look at it if it's for sales. They don't want to have anything to do with it. They just want it finished and working, and it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Except when they need it and it better exists. Right. So it's yeah. Where's my brand guidelines? Where's my X? Where's my whatever it is?
Yeah. How does that work again? Why can't we do this again? But okay. Awesome. Thank you.
You're
Thanks,
welcome. Thank you, Fly.
John, did you have a question? And I don't want to.
Yeah, good to meet you, Matt. I am a recovering Salesforce consultant as well. Been in the Salesforce ecosystem since 2008. Seen it all. And just burn out, I got to be the salty old consultant. So I'm curious, and this is all pretty new to me in the last 6 months. So just curious what you're seeing as far as clients transitioning from Salesforce to HubSpot.
I'll answer this in two ways. Way one is when I was at Rev Partners and was starting that, and then way two is what I see now, and from a different perspective as like an app partner in the ecosystem. At Rev Partners, I literally went to market as the Salesforce Ripper. And I say, hey, if you have a Salesforce deal and they're considering HubSpot, the HubSpot reps, like bring me in, and there's no way they're going to use Salesforce after I talk to them. That idea. And I think we had a 80 to 70% close rate on those. So we just won a lot of sales up. So that was 2.5 years ago when I left RP 2 years ago. That's only picked up and grown faster. I mean, just raw numbers in the HubSpot ecosystem is specifically people transitioning from Salesforce into HubSpot for sales teams has increased, not decreased over time. So if you're in that position and you're in there, there is not, and this is why I said the best time to be a HubSpot admin in the history of HubSpot is there's not enough people. A lot of people have marketing backgrounds and they're coming from marketing backgrounds and learning sales. Very few. And there's about to be, for better or worse. I know it because PE firms are talking to me about it. And I'll go this my second, which goes to number two, is there's about to be a lot of Salesforce consultants swimming in the HubSpot waters. So this is good number two. As an app consultant, there's an app company that helps partners deliver and helps end users deliver is that number two is about to be more true. I'm having more and more Salesforce consultants ask me about HubSpot and saying, hey, it's super, and I know the water's about to get very chummy with Salesforce people coming in the HubSpot ecosystem for sales up. And that's a good thing. HubSpot doesn't have enough consultants to go up market. They need more partners. It's not a bad thing. It's because the pie is getting so big. And it's because Salesforce shops are losing to HubSpot. So they have to think about it. So here's this last thing, John. Hopefully this answers your question. Is I was at a Sandler's conference, or our company was, and they're a giant, the sales training that's what I used to use, but they're big. They're actually a big Salesforce shop. They have like Salesforce, and we met. I can probably about 9 Salesforce shops that sell HubSpot but are not HubSpot partners. It's coming. It's coming. So you're in a good position, and it's happening a lot. It's happening so much so that Salesforce is thinking about it.
Huh, interesting. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Matt, I know that folks have other questions for you. It's hard to believe we are at time. What's the best way for folks to follow you and sort of keep up with what you're up to? It's like you're moving a million miles an hour. I don't know.
LinkedIn is the best way. So if you just go Matthew Bolian, check me out there. And then we put in a lot more content. Specifically, we call it Durable by Design. We have a podcast that talks about how to build one-person agencies or large agencies. We spend a lot of time there on YouTube, and that's at Supered. It's Supered YouTube. So
That's awesome.
where I am.
Got a bunch of new subscribers for sure. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us, for talking and yeah, just for being here. This was awesome. I think everybody really enjoyed it.
It was an absolute pleasure. So everybody stay awesome, keep doing it big, and stay super.
Thanks, Matt.
Adios.
Thanks, everybody.